Modern parenting is full of beautiful intentions, but some of the most common advice is actually making our kids more fragile, confused, and entitled. If you want to raise kids with common sense and values, kids who thrive in the real world, you're actually going to have to learn to question these cultural myths. In today's masterclass, I'm going to show you 3 of the most common beliefs in modern-day parenting and how these sound so gentle and loving, but are actually holding our children back. And more importantly, I'm going to show you what to do instead. Well, welcome back to hifam. I'm Avital, and this is a very special masterclass that I am so excited to share with you. If we haven't met before, I'm the mother of 5, and I am here on a mission to help you to build a strong family culture, become the leader and the parent you always knew that you could be, and raise resilient kids in a pretty fragile world. If that sounds good to you, make sure that you're subscribed and stick with me till the end, because today I have a very special offer for you, an opportunity for us to work together. And if that sounds good, stick with me until the end and I'll tell you all about it. Today's session is brought to you free by my online membership, The Studio, and I warmly invite you to check it out at the link below. Let's dive in with myth number 1. Let me tell you about my student, Marissa. She's a really empathic and incredible mother of 2. And she had this tendency to really overthink every single meltdown. Her children would have tantrums or they would act out, and Marissa would immediately assume that there was some kind of unmet need. She assumed that maybe she wasn't giving them the sleep that they needed or the nutrition that they needed, or maybe it was something in her parenting or her shadow work or somatic work or inner child work that she had to somehow figure out. Whenever her children had big explosive emotions or tantrums or some, aggression, she felt like there was something she must be missing. She couldn't decode it. No matter how much she investigated, she couldn't figure out what the unmet need was behind every tantrum. She felt like they had a stable home with healthy habits. She even went so far as running blood tests and doing all manner of investigative medicine to try and figure out if her kid had some kind of special sensitivities or allergens that she wasn't aware of. Through our work together, Marissa realized that what her kids needed wasn't more and more analysis. It was actually more clarity, more calm boundaries. Now she knows how to set expectations with confidence, so she has far fewer struggles at home and much better behaved kids, which is great for her and also great for them. So what is the myth that I'm talking about? The modern day parenting myth that is holding our kids back is that every bad behavior is just an unmet need. This is the idea that every meltdown, every act of defiance is somehow a deep cry for help. It's the idea that if we just get to the root of the behavior, the hunger, the tiredness, the need for attention, then the behavior will somehow magically disappear. But there's a problem with this attitude. It's true that sometimes children do have unmet needs, physical or otherwise. Maybe they really are overtired or hungry and getting hangry. But sometimes this never-ending search for the root cause, this unmet need, leads to us finding more and more excuses for our children's bad behaviors, rather than actually shaping them and teaching them how to behave. And when we do that, we actually train our children to believe that their feelings justify their actions. Like, if I'm hungry, then it's okay for me to act out. Or if I'm tired, then you'll excuse me being disrespectful because I just have an unmet need, right? And of course, it derails us as parents because we become investigators instead of leaders. The truth is that sometimes children are aggressive towards their siblings or rude towards their parents or a little bit lazy or disinterested or acting out somehow, having tantrums and meltdowns or screaming and yelling or lying and sneaking or any other bad behavior in the world. And it's not always a direct correlation to an unmet need. It's not because you haven't done your job as a parent. And it shouldn't probe you to just investigate further and further to try and find this magical unicorn unmet need. And when you solve that, the key to the kingdom will suddenly be accessed and all will be good in the world. Why? Because bad behaviors actually need parenting. They need boundaries. They need consequences. They need all that unsexy stuff that modern day parenting doesn't even like to touch with a 10-foot pole. If anything, the unmet need might be the need for authority, for rules, for clarity, for boundaries, for consequences, and for follow-through. These are the type of unmet needs that modern-day parenting often just ignores. A child who acts in defiance, who is rude, who is obnoxious, who is lazy, who is mean or aggressive, doesn't need to be endlessly understood. Doesn't need us to bend over backwards and twist ourselves into pretzels and get out the magnifying glass to try and figure out what possible unmet need they might have. No, they need us to restate house rules. They need clear, logical consequences, and they need us to follow through on holding our boundaries. So, what do you do instead? Well, when a child behaves badly, behaves poorly, makes unkind, unwise, disrespectful decisions, we don't need to get on our detective cap and try to figure out the unmet need. Of course, we all hold a light awareness of where our child is in the day, how exhausted they are, how hungry they are. But even if they're exhausted and hungry, that doesn't excuse bad behavior. We shouldn't be making excuses for our children because that holds them back. That keeps them small, weak, and fragile and encourages entitled, disrespectful behavior, which none of us want for our kids. When you make excuses for the child, you are subconsciously sending them the message that they can't do better, that they can't hold themselves to a high standard, that you, in fact, have really low expectations of them, that you think that if they're a bit hungry or tired, then they can't possibly be respectful or kind or make good choices. Now, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't be empathic. You can validate their feelings, but you still want to hold the line of high expectations for their behavior. This is that balanced parenting, that authoritative sweet spot where we offer high support, but also high expectations. You can validate the emotion and say, it's okay that you feel angry, but also set a boundary on the behavior. It is not okay to hit. And we do have to use consistent, logical, fair consequences to shape good behavior. Now, I know as a modern day parent, you might feel a bit allergic to the words bad behavior and good behavior. And don't worry, we're going to address that shortly. But the truth is that a child who behaves well is going to do better in their life. People around them are going to be generous towards them and charitable towards them. Mentors will want to take them under their wing. Other parents will want to host them for play dates. Teachers will want to invest in them. And most importantly, other kids will want to be their friends. So when I say good behaviors, I mean regulated pro-social choices. Children who are able to sit on their hands instead of hitting. Children who don't throw things across the room. Children who are able to take themselves for a break so they can calm down instead of being explosive and destructive. Children who are able to refer to the people around them with respectful language and who have manners. These are the common sense and the values that we all want for our children. We want them to be civilized individuals. We want them to be pleasant to be around. It's going to garner so much more favor from us and from everyone else around them. So next time your 5-year-old throws a toy at their sibling, instead of digging for unmet needs, trust yourself that you are meeting your child's needs. I'm going to bet that almost anyone in this masterclass is feeding their child, is making sure their child has sufficient sleep, is making sure that their child gets enough attention, and their needs are pretty much met. I believe you've got that covered. Instead, you can calmly say, you're angry, that's okay, but throwing is not. We're going to take a break from this toy now and putting it away until you can calm yourself down, and we can try again later. Setting these boundaries is what builds emotional intelligence and accountability. Now, I've made a commitment to my audience that no question this month will go unanswered. So drop me your juiciest, deepest, most concerning parenting questions below, and I will make sure to answer it. Moving on to myth number 2. One of my students in the hifam studio, Rachel, hi, she told me that when her daughter would shift into a bad attitude, when she was getting sarcastic or talking back or rolling her eyes or shrugging her shoulders and being irritable, Rachel read that as a need for more connection. In fact, almost any bad attitude and bad mood that her child had pinged Rachel and made her think, oh no, I need to connect with my child more. But no matter how much special time Rachel did with her child, taking time off work, putting time aside, going for one-on-one dates with her daughter, the attitude actually didn't change. But then Rachel applied just one attitude reframe from the studio membership, and it flipped the script for her. What Rachel realized was what her daughter needed wasn't actually more and more attention, it was direction. And this changed everything for her. It was a major breakthrough. When Rachel gave her daughter the correct direction, she was able to actually shift these bad attitudes and bad moods and help her daughter enjoy her life more and be more pleasant and enjoyable to those around her as well, which again benefits the child. See, there is this insidious belief in modern day parenting that disrespect or rudeness or entitlement is a sign that the child always needs more attention and more connection. There's a belief that one-on-one special time will fix everything. Oh, your child's acting out, your child's being rude, your child's lying and sneaking, your child's being mean to their sibling, your child's being disrespectful to their teacher. Special time. It's like this magic bullet. No matter what your child does, the answer is always more attention from you. But there are several serious problems with this attitude, as gentle and loving as it might sound. I know it's really seductive and enticing to believe that if we parents just do more, if we just invest more, if we just make more eye contact and play with them more and read with them more and snuggle with them more and bond with them more and look at them more, then we'll be able to magic away all the bad behaviors and bad attitudes. But just like digging for unmet needs doesn't solve all bad behaviors, because sometimes they actually just need consequences, rules, clarity, and boundaries, investing more and more time in special time won't solve for bad attitudes. It's like bandaging up your leg to fix a headache. The two are actually unrelated. So what are the problems with this and why is this a bad idea? Well, first of all, it trains your kid to expect a reward for bad behavior. Say your child is grumpy all day, they're rude, they're disrespectful, they're really not fun to be around. And your response to that is, oh, I think you need more one-on-one time with me. Tomorrow you'll stay home from school and we'll go on a special date in the morning. Surely, if we just look at basic animalistic behavioralism, we should be rewarding good behavior, not bad behavior. Good choices, not bad choices, and good attitudes, not bad attitudes. If you look at how it works in the real world, people with bad, disrespectful attitudes get other people actually recoiling from them. It's a repellent. It's antisocial. No one wants to be around those people. And in fact, people with upbeat, sunny, generous attitudes that are respectful and kind are the type of people that attract more attention and more special time with people around them. So doing this will actually break a very logical link in our children's mind, where when you behave well, you make other people feel good around you and they want to be around you more. We're breaking that by forcing more and more special time and training them to reward poor behavior. The second problem with this is that it puts parents on an endless hamster wheel to fix everything with more attention. Now, your attention and your time is a limited resource. And yes, I love to give my kids attention. I love to have quality time with them, and I hope you do too. Bedtime snuggles, reading together, playing together, baking together, go on hikes together, having deep heart-to-heart conversations. These are all good things. We want to build our quality time and our bonds with our children. But if our children are stuck in poor mindsets, if they feel sorry for themselves, if they're always feeling like a victim, if they feel like everything's unfair, if they take things personally and get offended, if they're anxious and catastrophizing everything, if they're being rude and disrespectful, these things are not going to be solved just by spending more time with me. So I'm actually wasting a precious resource that is limited, and I won't get any bang for my buck because this won't fix that problem. We're talking about a problem of mindset, a problem of behavior, a problem of attitude, essentially. And we fix problems of attitude by rewiring our brain and training our brain to reframe and to think about things in a more positive, optimistic, helpful, and healthy manner, not by just spending more time with mom. In fact, this idea of fixing everything with special time undermines the value of humility, of gratitude, of service. I don't know about you, but I really want to teach my kids that yes, they are individuals. And yes, I love to give them one-on-one attention from time to time, but also they are part of a family. I mean, I don't think that the hunter-gatherers were taking their children off for one-on-one dates just to infuse them with more attention. This is a symptom of our hyper-individualistic society. Now, don't get me wrong, I love individualism. I love the idea that each of our children is unique and that they each have their own preferences and their own needs, and I strive to meet those. But I also understand that there is a downside of being hyper-individualistic. If you take individualism to the extreme, you create a situation where kids are always just looking out for number one. It's why we think that giving children a sibling is somehow taking something away from them rather than giving them the greatest asset they'll ever have, an incredible relationship. When we hyper focused on individualism, we teach kids that they are needy, that they need more and more attention, that they can never get enough of mom, that they deserve and require more and more special time in order to just behave like decent human beings. Instead of teaching them, hey, buddy, you're part of a group. We all need to be respectful of each other. You should be grateful for what you've got, respectful to other people, and exercise a little bit of humility. It's not all about you. If you don't want to raise a child who's super entitled, don't reward every bad attitude they have with more and more attention, with more and more special time. Don't forge them into emotional manipulators who get people to invest more and more in them by treating others badly. That sounds like a losing equation to me. Say your child refuses to help set the table and they roll their eyes and they say, "Why is it always me? Why can't my brother do it?" Rather than saying, "Oh, they need more connection. They need more special time. They must feel hard done by. They must feel jealous of their brother. I must not have given them enough of me." You could say to yourself, "No, wait, they actually need mindset coaching. They actually need to learn that they are part of a group, that we expect them to show up, that they are actually here to contribute, not just to take, and to think about what they have to give as well." The truth is that us parents need to see disrespect, entitlement, rudeness as an opportunity to coach their mindsets, not to give them more and more attention and connection. So, what do we do instead? First of all, we actually need to call out ungrateful, rude, bad attitudes. We can call it out kindly, but clearly. "Hey, that sounds really disrespectful. That doesn't sound like an attitude of gratitude. Do you want to rephrase that? Or are you thinking about this as a team player? Because I'm not hearing togetherness in what you're saying right there." You want to teach mindset shifts. You want to teach them to think about things through a lens of gratitude, of helpfulness, of respect, of teamwork, of actually being really thoughtful about other people and not always looking out for number one. And we want to help them understand their role in the family, not just getting their needs met, not just taking, but also giving. So when a kid is coming at you with a bad attitude, the fix is in the attitude. The fix is in teaching them to look at the world through a better lens. How can you reframe that? Why are you thinking about this in terms of fairness? Why are you catastrophizing? Why are you personalizing? Is it really all or nothing? What is a healthier, more contributing, more helpful way of thinking about this? If my kid rolls their eyes at me about setting the table, I correct them. I say, I really don't like that attitude. I think we should all be looking for more ways to help, not looking for ways to get out of helping. I think we should all be looking for ways we can ease the burden of others and be a team player. And that's what makes us strong. That's what makes you strong, is how helpful you can be. I don't look at it as an opportunity to give them yet more and more attention and reward that bad attitude with special time. And if a kid is picking fights with their sibling, I don't take that to mean that I haven't infused them with enough attention, that it's just so unfair that I've taken away from their world, from their princedom. I have dethroned them by giving them a sibling, and now I have to make it up to them and compensate them with more and more attention. Instead, I think to myself, hey, I need to teach this child that we treat each other with respect, that siblings are, yes, sometimes annoying, but overall someone that we need to treat with a helpful, kind, compassionate attitude and learn to solve problems and reframe our mindsets rather than just thinking about me and what I want. So special time does not fix bad attitudes. Bad attitudes need mindset coaching. Now, let me just say that I think there's a place for special time. I like spending one-on-one time with my children. I like giving them that focused attention. I like going on mommy dates with them. I like playing with them and reading with them and doing household chores together. But the idea that in order to be a good parent, you need to carve out consistent one-on-one time or else your children will act out and have a bad attitude, I think is just patently false. There doesn't seem to be any evidence to back this up, and it doesn't actually make logical sense. I don't think humans have evolved to expect that concentrated, individualized attention. And I also think it's a really unrealistic and unfair expectation to put on us parents. We have a household to run, and how about the focus on togetherness rather than on individuality? I would like my children to feel like we're a team. Like there's a place for us all together. Like we give each other attention, connection, and quality time. And it doesn't have to come from a top down, parent child only, exclude all my siblings, and just give me the attention. I also don't want my children to grow up thinking that they need any kind of special attention. I just don't think that's true. I think kids have grown up for millennia without getting concentrated special attention from the adults who raised them, but rather they grew up just mucking in and being part of the hub and the bustle of family life. They imitated the role models in their life. They join in. They spent time side by side doing productive work, like doing housework together or eating a meal together. These are the types of things that offer real quality time, not a kind of orchestrated, robotic, pre-scripted, prescribed special time that seems very forced and hyper modern. Really, I just don't think this exists in any other culture today or any time prior to this date. And what I worry about is that this kind of concentrated special time creates little princes and princesses, people who we can't blame for turning out to be entitled because they think that every whim, every feeling, every experience needs to be rewarded with an adult setting all their adult things aside, their work, their housework, their self-care. It could all go to pot. What's most important is you, my child, and I will put all of my attention on you. I actually think that might be a bit too much for a child, a bit too much power, a bit too much focus. I actually think that children just kind of need to grow up alongside the adults, kind of knowing their place and observing and playing and relaxing and watching what's going on in the household and emulating and copying and growing gradually, but not having that massive focus attention concentrated on them. And beyond all of that, I think it misses the point that a bad attitude really needs mindset coaching. We need to teach our children to reframe so that when they are engaging in cognitive fallacies and biases, as all children and all humans do, we actually need to correct those. You can spend an hour or 5 every single day in special time with your child, but unless you teach them to look at things through a more helpful lens, they're never going to learn a better mindset. They're always going to feel hard done by, like it's not fair. They're always going to feel like, oh no, something terrible is going to happen, or everybody hates me, or I can't do it. You can't fix these kind of mindsets with special time. You actually have to fix it with mindset work. Inside the studio, I teach you exactly how to build these types of mindsets with your children.
Now I have more tools and I don't feel so lost. I have a guide, obviously I have a coach, so I don't feel like I'm improvising. I feel like someone is giving me advice that is really applicable and just makes complete sense, and I just follow it and it works. And I feel less stressed as a mom. I feel more connected to my daughter.
If your child is always feeling self-defeated, like I can't do it, or they're always feeling like it's not fair, everybody else gets more than me, or they're always jealous of their sibling, or they're always addicted and obsessed with more screen time or more sugar, or they absolutely don't want to listen to you and you're not the boss of me. If they have these types of bad attitudes that often lead to bad results for them because their parents get annoyed with them, or because they're always giving up on things that they wanted to do, or they're becoming fragile or weak or nonstop complainers and whiners. If they have these bad attitudes, I can actually teach you how to coach their mindsets, to teach them to look at things in a fresh perspective. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, we want to teach them to think, how can I do this? I could try again. I can figure this out. I can ask for help. Instead of thinking, it's not fair, I never get what I want, they can start to look at the world through a lens of gratitude and start to notice the silver linings and see how they actually have a lot of the things that they want. So do you see how special time could never fix a bad attitude? But in fact, bad attitudes do need to be fixed for the benefit of the child, but they need to be fixed through mindset coaching. Back to my student Rachel, when she stopped trying to over-connect with her daughter and constantly infuse her with more and more attention and special time, and instead started directing her mindset to a stronger place, she started strengthening her daughter to the place where she wasn't having epic meltdowns every single day. She started to look at things through a lens that was more optimistic and hopeful and resilient and grateful. She started to look at herself as a contributor in the household, as someone who could be helpful, as someone who could hold it together, as someone who was emotionally strong. And that is what changed the meltdowns, not the connection that Rachel was chasing after. Which leads me to myth number 3. One of the parents in the studio told me that she always used to parent from fear. This student of mine felt anxious that she was maybe being overbearing. She was being too strict. She was worried about offending her children. She really felt worried about inflicting her own faith and her own beliefs on her children. She just wanted to follow the child and let the child lead the way and never tell her child what to do because she was worried that her child would end up rebelling against her. But that kind of timid, squeamish, unsure parenting actually creates a lot of confusion and chaos for kids. The truth is that kids need to know what we expect from them. They need to know what our values are, and they need to see inspiring role models at home. So let's break this one down. There's a myth in the modern parenting world that you should never judge bad choices. Have you ever heard this idea that you should never tell a child that certain foods are bad for you? Because somehow that judgment will create a forbidden fruit. It will make the child want that food more, or it will make them feel guilty or ashamed if they eat that food, or something along those lines. There's this idea in modern parenting that we shouldn't even say what is good and what is bad. Who are we to say? Who am I to judge? That is the kind of OG sin, right? The original sin of modern parenting is being judgmental. Is, God forbid, inflicting your beliefs and your judgments on your child instead of following the child's lead and letting them decide what they believe for themselves. It's this kind of blank canvas myth that children just come into the world and they should reinvent the wheel. You don't have a culture, you don't have wisdom, you don't have a legacy or a heritage, you don't have values and a vision for the world. You haven't figured things out. You don't have a great lifestyle. You haven't mastered your health or your marriage or your bank account. You have nothing to guide your child towards. You're just there to be the glorified babysitter and chauffeur. Just keep the child physically safe, give them some education, and then give them endless empathy and special time and love, and you will be fine. Your child doesn't need moral guidance or guidance on how to lead a fulfilling and meaningful life, right? I know, I sound a little tongue-in-cheek, and that's because I am. I think this is a ridiculous idea, and I think it robs children of their birthright, of their inheritance. Listen, my friend, you have been around on this earth a while, and you have figured some things out. You have values that you believe in. You have a lifestyle that you believe in. You have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, and you have life experience. And maybe you have a faith system or a culture that you want to pass on from one generation to the next. Maybe in the darkest recesses of your mind, you actually do have some judgments. Maybe you have beliefs about hookup culture or porn culture, or about video games, or about sugar in excess, or about a million and one other topics that you would love for your child to know about, that you think you could offer them some shortcuts to a good and meaningful and healthy life if only you could convey these to them. But you feel timid and afraid and squeamish of sharing them because you don't want to seem judgmental.
Avital is very good at gently guiding people to figure out what's really right for them and giving parents the encouragement to actually implement their highest intentions for their family, whatever that means for you.
But the truth is that children will make bad choices unless you give them inspiring, active guidance. That's actually your role as a parent. You are actually there to be kind of their spiritual guide, right? Their moral guide, the person who tells them how to lead a life worth living, a healthy, productive, meaningful, fulfilling life with satisfying relationships and stability. Most of us know this in the realm of, say, education or health. We're comfortable telling our children that they should make healthy choices, that they should stay safe, or that they should learn to read. These are the types of things we're okay inflicting upon them, even though it might come off as a little bit judgmental of people who don't make those choices. But most of us feel really nervous about giving them any guidance beyond that. And the truth is, it shows. This nervousness and timidness of parents, this belief that we should never judge bad choices, that we should leave that up to the child and just follow their lead, that they are a blank canvas and that they should make their own way in the world, is showing on our younger generation today. The young generation today is more anxious, depressed, and lost than any generation prior, despite having more peace and prosperity than anyone ever before. And that is tragic and sad, and due to a large part to parenting. This belief is rooted in moral neutrality and the belief that we just need to be tolerant of everything, that all lifestyles are completely equal, that all life choices are equal, that live and let live, that who are we to judge, and that we should just create emotional safety for our children to be whoever they are, no matter what that is. It's the idea that kids need every freedom to explore without any shame or guilt whatsoever, no matter what choices they do. And it's also a very dangerous belief that even bad choices are inconsequential, that we can shield and hide the consequences so that children can just feel shame and guilt-free no matter what they choose to do. But the truth is, there's a reason that we feel guilty or shame when we make certain choices. That's our emotional system guiding us that we've done something that is wrong. It's a prompt for us to realign our moral compass. Take food, for example. Why are modern parents so uncomfortable saying that some food is bad for you, even when we have all of the scientific evidence to show that? Why? Because they're so afraid of being perceived as judgmental. They don't want people who eat those foods to feel like, you're judging me, who are you to judge me? That's the worst thing they could be called. That's a very scary name. And so we don't want to say, hey, an excess of sugar is bad for you. It leads to all sorts of bad results. But it does. So why are you being dishonest with your child? We have to be honest. We owe it to them to share of our life experience and of our wisdom. They need that. They need that guidance. They need that help. They need that direction. Why are we throwing them to the wolves and expecting them to just figure it out on their own? And the same goes for every area of life, whether it's dating and sex, or money management, or health and wellness, or faith and belief. Our children need and deserve our guidance. If you don't give them that guidance, if you don't give them an ideal to emulate, if you don't give them values to look up to, if you don't give them a vision to work towards, someone else will, and you might not like the results. If you create a vacuum of moral leadership, it will very quickly be filled by TikTok and social media, by influencers and celebrities. And whatever values happen to be popular in big culture out there are what's going to fill your child's head and build for them a mental model of what they should strive towards. If you don't tell them right from wrong, then they're going to be morally adrift. They're never actually going to know what's good and what's right. But our role as parents is not just to put a roof over their head and to keep them safe and educate them. It's also to be their values transmitter. We're supposed to infuse them with moral values and guidance that will lead them to a good life. And I know that's different for everyone. It depends on your culture and your religion and your belief system, and that's all cool. Imagine saying, I have $1 million, but I'm going to share none of it with my child. They should just make it all for themselves. That is exactly what we're saying when we say, I have my moral compass and my beliefs about right and wrong and how to lead a good life, but I'm not sharing any of that with my child. They need to figure it out for themselves. Why would you withhold wisdom? Why would you withhold guidance that children desperately need? One of the reasons we do this in modern day parenting is because we have this strange belief that children are little gurus, that they know better, that we should just follow the child, that somehow they are born whole and perfect and wise beyond their years, and whatever they say must hold intrinsic meaning and value. But as much as I love my children, and I do, they're still just kids. They're developing, they're experimenting, they're unsure, and they really need those guardrails and that guidance from the adults in their lives. There needs to be an adult in the room, and that adult is us, the parents. But when we say never judge bad choices, we're lifting up our hands and saying, not my problem. That confuses our children. We think we're communicating tolerance and compassion and acceptance, but what they're hearing is moral passivity. I don't even know. There is no good way. So what should you do instead? Well, first of all, you have to normalize having conversations about values in your family. Inside the studio, we get really clear on what our vision is as a parent. What is our mission statement? What are our values? What do we want to teach our kids? We learn how to develop their critical thinking skills, their ability to debate respectfully, their ability to have accountability and responsibility, compassion and kindness, a deep understanding of what their moral compass and values are. Inside the studio, I teach you to teach your child to have a strong sense of their own values without being judgmental or rude about other people and other lifestyles. You do need to start being judgmental. You need to use discernment. You need to be able to say that something is not respectful or unhealthy or unkind. We need to be able to say that that's an unproductive choice to make, or that is simply wrong. And we need to be able to model clear, loving judgment with warmth and guidance. Most important of all, we need to be able to inspire our children with an incredible family life culture.
In Avatel's group, she meets you wherever you're at. There's not an expectation of where you need to be. Wherever you're at is okay. And she helps you attain a higher level of whatever it is that you're looking for.
Our children need to look at us and think, wow, you've got something figured out. You're living an inspiring life. You're an inspiring role model. I hope to emulate you one day. You want to create a home life that your child wants to recreate in the future because you've proven yourself. You're a trustworthy guide. You're someone that they believe in. You're someone who is leading an inspiring lifestyle, and you're offering generous, active guidance so that they can figure out their own choices in life. So when your kid wants to binge watch content on Netflix that really doesn't align with your values, you're able to share why, and they're able to see your point of view, to understand it, and to feel moved by it. You want to help them build inner strength and resilience, not just blind obedience and compliance. We want them to understand why we do the things we do, why we believe in dressing this way, or in eating this way, or in doing these activities, or in running our home in this way, or in treating other people in this way. And we want them to follow it because it is good. So there is our 3 myths for you. Bad behavior is not just unmet needs. Bad behavior actually needs boundaries, consequences, and follow through. Bad attitudes cannot be fixed with special time. Bad attitudes actually need mindset coaching. And it is not true that you should never judge bad choices, but rather that bad choices need inspiring, active guidance. Our culture makes us parents feel like we are oppressive tyrants, like all judgment is bad and discipline is damaging and leadership is somehow controlling. But here's what I believe and what we teach inside the hifam studio. Actually, when done with love and warmth and clarity, your judgment, your discipline, and most of all, your leadership is exactly what raises strong, competent, capable, resilient kids. It's a strong family culture where bad behaviors are actually corrected and disciplined, where bad attitudes are actually reframed and coached, and where bad choices are judged and guided, that lead children to grow up with a strong spine, broad shoulders, and a big smile. Don't just react to your child's needs. Lead them. Don't just hold space passively, but rather shape character actively. Don't just avoid judgment, but rather pass on wisdom. That is how we raise kids with common sense and values.
I'm glad that I did join, and this is my 3rd year. I feel like every year that I am in hifam, we just kind of level everything up. Every year that we do it, we get a little bit deeper and more stable with the good habits that we're trying to create and the kind of family life we're trying to create.
If you are ready to stop parenting on autopilot and start raising kids with real values, with strong character, and with common sense, I would love to help you go deeper. My membership, the hifam Studio, is open right now and you have to check it out. Inside, you'll get the coaching, the content, the community, and the tools that actually work to build a strong family culture and raise resilient kids. Now, I've never done this before and there's very limited spots, but I'm so excited to be opening my live coaching call calendar. If you want to connect with me, make sure to DM me the word values over on Instagram. That way I can send you a link to my personal coaching calendar. You can grab a spot and I will answer your unique, individual, personalized questions on how to raise a kid with common sense and values. You don't need more tips and tricks. You need to block out all the noise out there. You need a path, a mentor, and a family culture you actually believe in. I'd love to help you build it.